And we have another knowledgeable yet powerful panel discussion on the topic human factors in cybersecurity, cracking the behavioral code. For that, I would like to have moderate. So basically, I believe due to unavoidable commitments, Sailaja would not be able to join us today. So we have Sejal Shibe as a moderator, Senior Manager Cybersecurity Projects and Operations from CyberFrat, esteemed panelist Kavitha Srinivasulu, Global Head Cybersecurity and Data Privacy BFSI from TCS, Nirali Bhatia, Director and Cyber Psychologist P4Web Cybersecurity, Khushbu Arora, Security Architect Bug Hunters, Dr. Karnika Seth, Managing Partner, Seth Associates, and esteemed panelist Lekshmi Nair, Senior Director, Synopsis INC. So let's unleash the power of women, and I would like to hand over to Sejal.
Thank you so much, Bhairavi. Very glad to be a part of this panel, especially because all the women are on this panel from the industry. So I'm sure that it is going to be a very engaging and very fun panel. So I would request the attendees to constantly be active in the chat, whatever opinions or additions you want, apart from our panelists' insights, you keep putting that so that everyone here can learn from each other. So as Bhairavi has introduced all of us, the esteemed panelists, thank you so much for joining this panel and taking up this topic, very crucial topic, the human factors in cybersecurity, cracking the behavioral code. So human factors, when we say in cybersecurity, they encompass a wide range of issues related to how individuals interact with technology, perceive the risks, and make decisions about security. While technological defenses are crucial, but the human element often plays a pivotal role in the success or failure of cybersecurity efforts. So, from falling victim to phishing attacks, as we just played the game built around this idea, to unintentionally exposing sensitive information, human actions can either strengthen or weaken an organization's security posture. So, this panel today will discuss exactly this, the behavioral aspects of cybersecurity, focusing on why people make the decision that they do, how psychological and social factors influence their actions, and what organizations and individuals can do to foster a security conscious culture. So, our goal is to crack the behavioral code by understanding these human factors and leveraging the knowledge to build more resilient security strategies. So let's start with our discussion points and questions. So Karnika ma'am, let I would like to
Yes.
start or kick off this panel with you. How do you see the role of human behavior and psychology evolving in the cybersecurity domain, and why is it critical to address the human factors alongside technological defenses?
Right. It's very crucial because every organization is dependent on how their workforce conducts themselves. So therefore, if you see any organization, they would have a policy which is a non-disclosure policy in the first place. And nowadays we also make a social media policy for them. There are SOPs regarding how they will be processing any kind of data, for example, which they handle, uh, the due diligence practices which they ought to keep. So clearly we demarcate if there's a surveillance happening for productivity reasons, if there's any surveillance happening, that is also informed in advance to the employee. So the do's and don'ts are always laid out. That's because we can't leave it for them to understand. Everybody has its own ethical or moral code, which would be the workspace, how they would want to conduct themselves. But an organization wants a clarity on it, and we follow the legal compliances which are needed. So we basically plug out these vulnerabilities, as every hardware would have a vulnerability or a system or a software. Similarly, the do's and don'ts for human behavior come with the human psychology. So as a legal practitioner, as an advocate, I've handled cybercrime cases before Delhi High Court and Supreme Court, where we, time and again, we've seen how human factors have played a role. For example, a lot of data theft cases which I've handled, sometimes the even bigger organizations may not have very clear-cut policy on internet use. Sometimes employees would get their own laptops, or they would use their personal laptops while they're traveling, and the emails from their official emails are not flowing, but they are flowing from official emails to their own personal email IDs, which is completely unacceptable in today's corporate world. We know that we can't do that. And so in a lot of these cases, we found evidence that there was a data theft. And that's when we forensically check an email and see what was a red flag, what was not. So therefore, the technological tools like DLP, for example, data loss prevention software, go a long way. Having clear-cut policies go a long way in managing these concerns, and they very clearly demarcate what are the acceptable and what are the non-acceptable policies of a company. So we can stop cybercrime, we can prevent it, we can mitigate, even in case of ransomware attacks or otherwise. How on social media you shouldn't be opening any suspicious link, any phishing email, for example. So the do's and don'ts and due diligence practices, whether it's email coming really from the boss. Just before this, there was a quiz, and I saw the phishing, example, which was a real everyday examples. These are basically testing the human psychology, whether you are, taking care or not, the due care. Just like in the offline world, you're careful. You're driving, you're careful. Similarly, there are those best practices for internet safety and also for workplace hygiene, how you maintain that sanity or how you maintain that decorum of how you need to conduct yourself in the working environment.
Okay, really great insights. I think we all agree with you on that one. Kavitha ma'am, would you like to add here to what Karnika ma'am said?
Yeah. So, hi everyone, and congratulations to all the winners once again. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of this esteemed panel. And definitely, that's the key topic that you've chosen with the respect to the human elements. And it's becoming a biggest threat of the recent surveys that has been released, which was in 25% before 2 years. Now it's increasing to 43%. The number of internal threats are increasing day by day for the reason there are three key reasons which needs to be addressed by the organization, and what as an employee, as an individual, we need to take responsibility. First is the organization should keep in mind that whenever they are onboarding a team to any particular application build or any tools or anything, they have to ensure they check their competency. Okay, so unless the resource is competent, their insecurity is one of the biggest threat. You can see the behavioral changes, because as they are not sure about themselves, they do a lot of researches and a lot of exploration, which leads which they become prey to phishing, that we typically saw some examples, right? They get prey to that, they will get victimized because they want to learn about something, but they're not sure where to learn, where to go about, and what to do. I'm sure that organizations are coming up with some learning modules, but still they have to first inform or first increase the awareness among the individuals whom they are working with. And whenever they are onboarding, they shouldn't assume that all the individuals are having the same bandwidth or same knowledge levels. They have to completely groom them before they onboard into any system. That's one. And second, when they are providing any accesses, right, we should not give open access for all the resources. Should ensure that the resources who are working on a particular critical system or any important requirements, they know what they are doing and how responsible or how much of data that they are owning before they are onboarded. So the other thing is, which everybody are talking about, is the awareness, right? We have to increase awareness among the associates so that they understand what they are doing is not something simple, and that something which has to be taken really, which they have to be really cautious about. And for the employees, first and foremost, one typical example, whenever we lock the system, right, the human behaviors, when we are working from home, which has become really very normal or BAU nowadays, working from home. So when we are working from home, we never lock our systems, because we have that mindset only the physically, if somebody is present next to us, we have to lock the system, or else if there is nobody, there is no risk. But they forget it's not the physical risk, that we have a risk inside the system. When it's open, that means you're giving an open gate for the hackers to influence your system, right? So employees should ensure wherever they are, irrespective of people around or not, they have to lock the system. And second, whenever you're working on any particular or any important deliverables, we have seen always, when there is a pop-up that comes, the organization is requesting for a start or restart your system because of some bugs are getting fixed at the back end. We never used to give attention to that. We just close the window because we are working on something important, and we just carry on with our activities, which is another mistake that is done by human, which is a human tendency. We will either postpone it or we just close the window. That's another thing that has to be corrected for us to ensure that the bugs that is faced by the other system, to avoid that the enterprise does a fix across the systems, but when we are not supporting the organization in fixing it, that's also another reason in where we get prey to through different kinds of cyber attacks. So these are some of the things that humans are victimized to by either the organization is missing in few places, or the employees themselves are not aware and not taking right actions when required. These are some of my views. Thanks.
Okay, okay. Yeah, very, very true, Kavitha ma'am. I think some of the key factors that you mentioned should be taken care of on a daily basis. Is especially if we just talked about the general human behavior or the psychology, but when we come to or when we talk about the insider threats, we know that a lot of attacks have been taken place due to insider, if someone employee or one present within the company, because these threats, they pose a unique challenge as they come from within. Unlike external threats, insiders often have the legitimate access to the systems, data, all of that. And a lot of examples are also built around these case studies. So what are the different types of insider threats? How can organizations identify and manage these risks? And what are the behavioral indicators that can be used in this whole process? So Lakshmi ma'am, I would like to know your insights on this.
Sure, sure. Hello, everyone, and it's a privilege to be here with this panel. So I know a lot of big names, very experienced people in the cyber psychology part of this panel. So I'm not just before I start, this is purely based on what I've seen in my experience than something I've learned, scientifically as an education. But I'm sure I hope that others are going to add some of those aspects as well. So insider threat, right? So I think even before that, I wanted to take a step back, and when we look at the human factor in the cybersecurity, we often consider cybersecurity as a technical issue, right? We always think that a cybersecurity problem can be resolved by process, technology, and less of people. People, the only thing that we are talking about is awareness, right? I think that's one of the major, rather the kind of myth in the cybersecurity space. However, the equally as much as we consider humans are as the weakest link in the security space, they can be the strongest link as well. And so these two aspects, this particular aspect, the moment that we put that in front of everything else and look at systems or the technology processes, everything with humans at the center, and then design those on how that will impact, how that will support, how that will enable humans to protect organization information, all of this, the whole perspective will change. So that goes back to the insider threat aspect as well, right? So insiders are not really the computers or systems. They are actually the people. It could be a former employee, contractor, business partner, or the whole set of people who are part of your supply chain, right? It could be a person, it could be a service provider working for you in the organization who may be having equal access as, or sometimes more access than a person who is supporting. Let's take an example of business process outsourcing, the BPO environment. A person handling some of the support services may have more access than a typical employee who is working in that organization. So the definition of insider is not really a person having badge of a particular organization who is supporting there, but it is more, it's vast, It is even to the extent that the whole lot of people who are providing support to the organization as well get involved in that. So when we take up what could be some of those specific insider threats, I'm sure many of you are aware. Primarily the intentional and unintentional threats. Intentional is something which an employee is not happy with whatever is happening in the organization, be it a boss who is who is creating a toxic environment, or maybe an HR who is not supportive, or maybe a client uh, who is not supportive, or even the entire job that that person is getting. So it could be anything, or it could be something which could uh, be motivating that person to get additional revenue, or maybe tamper the organization's goodwill. It can, or just for fun as well. Sometimes I know in my and just this is fun activity, right? Someone would send an email from an open computer to everyone else in the organization that, okay, this person has resigned, or this person has birthday, let's throwing a party. So it could be anything. So all of these are type of motivations for anybody to be an insider threat. When it comes to unintentional one, ignorance, lack of awareness, not able to use the system the way that it should be, or maybe the provisions that, or the privileges that are being given to the employee is not as much as that person is supposed to be getting. So RBAC is not really being implemented correctly. So those could, and the person misused that one. That could be unintentional ones. Intentional, as I said, there are very specific motives that the person wanted, or maybe before that person leaves the organization, or maybe there is an intent that the person would want to achieve, say, get some additional benefits, or it could be some say, I remember when I used to work for a security team in a BPO several years back. One of these things which used to come very, very often was people misusing the reward system to get more points or give more discounts to their friends and things like that. So this could be intentional ones. Then the other aspect of it, this will be the point that I mentioned about the third-party providers, the collusive threats that the insiders can post by partnering with an additional party who is outside of their organization.